I'm back with another video. To those of you that are seeing this or seeing my channel for the very first time, welcome. Like, share, subscribe, do the right thing. And to those of you who have been here already, thank you so much for joining me again. And today we're going to be chatting about how I got into the photography industry. Bum, bum, bum. Okay, that was random and unnecessary, so let's get into it. Engaged in 2012. I was so excited. So I went online, checked out a few wedding suppliers, checked out a few photographers, sent out emails, and some of the photography quotes were insane. The work was amazing though, don't get me wrong, but the prices, oh my gosh. Anyway, so I checked out a few photographers online, and while I was doing this, one of my colleagues actually got married at the time and sent out a link to her wedding pictures, and wow, her pictures were so beautiful. So I got in touch with her wedding photographers and they sent me their wedding packages. Yeah, 14,000 Rand for wedding photos just didn't make sense to me at the time because I didn't know any better. So I didn't get back to them after receiving their email. A few weeks later, one of my best friends invited me to a wedding expo. We drove to the wedding expo. Picture this. This venue is very farmy, but like a beautiful farmy. I'm not saying farmy as in ducks running around and chicks and pigs and all of that. No, there were no animals running around, thank goodness. It's this beautiful big farm. And on this specific day, it had like so many stands. As we drove in through the gate, we saw tons of suppliers. Like there were decor people, there were venue people, there were people that made like wedding dresses that had put them on display, there were cake makers. Like it was basically a wedding supplier market. Well, I suppose that's what wedding expos are, right? So we eventually found parking, got out the car obviously, and then walked around and checked out the different stands until we got to the section we were looking for, basically the photography section, and this was next to the videographer section. In fact, they'd put videographers and photographers together. I don't know why I didn't just say that. So we looked at the different photographers, and what I realized was that there were no black female photographers, not a single one in sight. Okay. At the time, obviously I was thinking it's a male-dominated industry, so okay. So we looked around, we chatted to different photographers, and then we bumped into our videographer. So I had already booked a videographer, and he actually referred me to a friend of his who happens to be a photographer and had a stand there. So we went to his stand, we checked out his work. Work was beautiful. We looked at his pamphlet, and man, oh man, it was a win. It was a win. His package included an engagement shoot and to cover the wedding at 9,200 Rand. So we were very happy with that. Hold up. So before I continue with the story, there are a few things within the story that I'd like to highlight and just like give tips and advice to clients that are looking for a wedding photographer and up-and-coming photographers. These are things that I'm going to talk about at the end of the video, so please make sure that you watch until the very end of the video where I'll be highlighting these important facts. Okay, back to the story. So we took his pamphlet, and later that night we got home, checked out his website. We were happy with his work. I emailed him saying, dude, we're using you for our wedding, so what's the next step? He sent me a contract. So we checked out the contract, we were happy, and then we decided, you know what? Let's make things a little easier for us. We'll just give him 6,000 Rand. So the package that we were going for was 9,200 Rand. So we decided to pay 6,000 Rand up front because, hey, you were sure that we were going to use them. Cool. Now it was time to plan for the engagement shoot. So I remember sending him an email asking if we could have the engagement shoot the next year in Jan. this engagement shoot. We decided to have it at a zoo, Pretoria Zoo. We got there, and while we were there, we got a call from the photographer saying that he was running late. So eventually he rocked up like 20 or 30 minutes late, I can't remember. And when you got there, we were like, okay, fine. I remember he had a brand new camera, which looked pretty neat. It looked pretty cool. I didn't know anything about cameras at the time, so it looked good, I guess. It looked professional, it looked awesome. So we had the shoot, he took pictures of us, and I remember there was a spot where there were dustbins behind us, and he was like, nah, it's chill, don't stress. I'm gonna Photoshop out the dustbins in the background. We were like, okay, cool. So we carried on with the shoot, and boom, we were done. We were happy, we all parted ways, and yeah, there was silence. A few days went by, and so then I decided to email him and say, okay, so when can we expect our images? And he was like, oh, he's busy, but he's working on them as well, so yeah, we'll receive them soon. I think we got the images about 2 to 3 weeks later. And the images looked terrible. Remember that image I mentioned with the dustbins? The dustbins were still there. These images basically looked like he had done nothing to them. You know, we looked tired, our faces were shining, it was just a disaster. And at the time I had braces. It was, yeah, I don't want to even go into it. It was depressing. So I sent him back an email raising my concerns, and I was just like, I expressed how unhappy we were about the images, and I remember he responded with some long email with excuses and whatnot. I don't want to go into that. So it was at that point I was like, we were like, this is a bit risky. If we're not happy with our engagement pictures, now imagine our actual wedding. And I was like, I ain't having it, hell no. But now unfortunately, in the contract, it did state that whatever money we were going to pay, or the deposit we're going to pay, or the deposit we're paying is non-refundable. So we forfeited 6,000 Rand. My heart was sore. Our hearts were sore. So after this whole incident with this photographer, that was when I realized, actually, hang on. I want to get into photography. Especially because I noticed there were no black female photographers at this expo. I think I can do it. Because the whole time he was taking pictures, I was watching him and I was thinking, I could do that. You know, especially because I have a background in graphic design. So I was like, no, you know what? I'm gonna get my camera and I'm gonna start this whole photography thing. I wasn't enjoying my full-time job anyway, so this was like a nice side distraction. So I remember there was a time, my fiance at the time and I were at a shop called Game, and we're looking around at cameras, and we discovered that I could actually get a camera, pay a deposit, and then pay it off monthly. I was like, okay, this works perfectly. So then I decided to get the Canon 1100D. There was no specific reason. I didn't know much about cameras, but I just decided to go with this one because it was affordable. It also came with, the kit lens. This is the 18 to 55mm EFS lens. So note, I don't know anything about cameras, but for me it was affordable at the time, and I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna go for it. So we purchased the camera. I was so excited. For me, it was a big deal. I checked out a few YouTube videos, and I remember they had a tag inside the box where I could go for like a Canon workshop thing on how to use my camera. So I went for that. I didn't learn much because I was horrible at the jargon. I had never gone to school for it, so I was basically just winging it. So at time, I obviously started out shooting with auto. and I shot with auto. I was constantly shooting. I remember at work I'd ask like colleagues randomly if I could take pictures of them. There were days where if I had no one to take photos of, I'd take photos of plants and flowers and just like abstract weird things, you know. But I always had my camera on me and I was constantly taking photos. And then I decided to reach out to my colleagues' photographers again. So I sent them an email saying, hi, remember me? Please send me your packages for this year. Remember, now we're in a new year. And then they sent me the packages, and the package that I had seen for 14,000 had gone up by 3,000. So now we were looking at 17,000 Rand. My heart sank. It was at this point I decided to just be honest with the photographer and had explained what had happened with the previous photographer regarding this whole engagement shoot and the disaster and the pictures that we weren't happy with. And she actually felt for us. She felt sorry for us, and she was like, okay, cool. So she was able to give us a good deal. Then we booked her. Okay, we decided to book her, and her package came with an engagement shoot and the wedding day. So we had our engagement shoot, and when we were organizing or planning for this engagement shoot, she suggested a place. She was very proactive. She knew her story, which gave us comfort. So we had the engagement shoot. It was fun. It was so cool. We connected with her like on so many levels. Like, it was awesome. And I remember after the shoot, I said to her that I'd like to get into photography and I'd be keen on working with them if that was possible. And she was like, okay, cool, we'll chat about it. Then fast forward to the wedding. We had the wedding. We got the wedding pictures at the end. The wedding pictures were amazing. We were so happy. So after receiving the images, I remember being so excited, and I was like, okay, I would really like to work with you. Please teach me photography. I am keen. I've got my little 1100D, and yeah, let's do this. And I remember her saying, okay, cool, I'm keen to teach you some stuff. And that is how I got into photography. So let's recap on the lessons that I learned from this and the lessons I'd like to share with clients that are looking for a wedding photographer and up-and-coming wedding photographers.
Firstly, invest in a good photographer. I know it can be very tempting to want to go for the cheapest photographer on the market, but this isn't always a good idea, in my opinion. You're already spending so much money on your wedding, so why not invest in a photographer that will give you amazing images? At the end of the day, these images will be all you have left. Oh, and video. Secondly, do your research. Look at different photographers' work and see what style you like most. Set up a meeting with them and see if you connect and get along. If you have any questions, ask. If you want to use your photographer but still aren't 100% sure, why not book an engagement shoot? That way you won't be risking too much. This will also help you get a sense of how the photographer works. And thirdly, book your photographer in advance. Usually it's not easy to book a great photographer at the last minute. Booking a photographer 12 to 8 months before the wedding will give you time to iron out any issues or concerns you may have before your big day. To the up and coming wedding photographers, firstly, educate your client. When discussing a shoot with your client, ask them what they have in mind, give suggestions, educate them. Whether you're advising on the time of day or whether they need makeup or not, or even suggesting a location. Ultimately, the client and you want the same thing. Great images, right? So it's a win-win. And secondly, be on time or slightly earlier. This will create a good impression. And finally, please let your client know when the images will be ready. Even if there's a delay, let them know. That's all for this video. I hope these points will be helpful. Remember to like, share, and subscribe. Thanks for watching.